Hello, it is Sunday afternoon and it is the 2nd of August. There's a lot to talk about. Today I went for a drive, just not far from where I live. Maybe I went 3 miles along the main drag, and one after the other after the other after the other were all these offices and storefronts and restaurants all shut down. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to show that video later on in the video, but stay with me while we talk about, just what I see in the Massachusetts area. So retail is going to be obliterated. People are not paying their rents. Stores have been shut down. Restaurants have been shut down. They had a little spike when they initially first opened to outdoor dining, and then it just plummeted. I was talking to a couple of restaurants that were actually open for takeout during the entire pandemic. And during the pandemic, they were really busy. They were seeing, there was only like 4 restaurants in town that were open: a Chinese restaurant, Italian restaurant, a sandwich shop, and a regular, American cuisine kind of thing. But they were doing okay because there were only 4 or 5 shops open. And then when the governor lifted the ban on restaurants and all the restaurants opened to outdoor dining, there was more competition, and a lot of those restaurants that were doing well are no longer doing well. So now they are facing the same challenges that everyone else faced, and I guess the new ones that have recently opened are also, there's only so much money to go in to feeding at a restaurant within a town, and there's no more, whether more open or not. So it's a good lesson that there is a market cap, and in order to be sustainable, I guess there has to be fewer restaurants that get all of the revenue, and just not everyone can make it. So there's more on that. A lot more is coming. I know that landlords are not getting their rent, and the rent on retail real estate is going to come crashing down. I was also here, according to Bloomberg. Is it Bloomberg? Bloomberg. Rents are plummeting in New York City. The glitzy shopping districts are ghost towns. So even in Boston, you will have Newbury Street and the Prudential Center with all these high-end, ritzy, expensive shops that no one is buying in those stuff. Their sales are down 80%. They're talking about Fifth Avenue here. Everyone seems to be moving out. They're taking their landlords to court. I guess Barney's vacated. The handbag maker Valentino is suing to get out of its lease on Fifth Avenue. And a block over, bankrupt luxury department store Neiman Marcus is shutting its doors, and and they're shutting their doors for good, and not only in New York but in Palm Beach and everywhere else. So most of these stores are fed by tourists. Tourism, they come from other parts of the world where they don't have these luxury shops, and they buy, in Manhattan. It's a great souvenir. They remember their wonderful trip to New York City, and that's all gone. So tourism has just come to a halt in New York City. It's come to a halt everywhere. There's not only international travel, but even driving or domestic travel. People just aren't moving. It is August. It's prime time for travel, and just people aren't going. So America's glitziest and most expensive retail districts are losing tenants, and tenants that they will not be able to replace, and the rents are in free fall. So it's, the Magnificent Mile in Chicago, it's the Las Vegas Strip, Rodeo Drive, Fifth Avenue, all these places never coming back to life. What's going to come in those stores or in those vacancies instead is going to be stores like Five Below, Vans, Primark, and low quality, cheap goods that people buy because there's no other alternative, or that's all they can afford. So that's what's coming to America. Congress also has failed to enact the additional stimulus for unemployment. I tell you, a lot of those people are going to need that unemployment. Evictions are going to skyrocket. And where are these people going to live? Where are these people going to live? Retail, travel, restaurants, entertainment, all of those have been obliterated. There are people, not only, people like individuals, but there's families. It's becoming a real problem. And these landlords have to, the government has to do something, because we're going to see people on the streets pretty soon. And it's going to get fairly bad. I mean, people's cars are going to be taken away too. These people have nothing, and now they're living on a credit card. They've wiped through their savings. They've wiped through anything that they can, get from the government, and they're living off credit cards. And now what banks are doing is they're looking at them saying, well, these are high risk, and they're cutting their credit available to them. So where are these people going to go? It's going to be a big problem. Evictions are going like skyrocket. If they don't move out themselves, the landlord will have every right to break into the door and move all their stuff out onto the streets. So that's what's coming to America, folks. Jobless claims too went up another 1.4 million, losses come in last week as of Thursday. So as I'm talking to you, millions more are potentially losing their jobs to no fault of their own. This is a virus that has just wiped out America. And even if people do have jobs, they're not spending their money. And people who get that $600 or they get a stimulus, the government wants those people to go out and spend that money to stimulate the economy. People aren't doing that. They're taking that money and they're paying rent with it, or they're buying food with it. And all those essential businesses that were open only in April, right? Only essential businesses were open. Those are the only ones that are going to continue to do well, because now people don't have, even if they have the money, they're not spending it necessarily on that extra. I mean, people are sleeping on people's couches right now. They have nowhere to go. These are, upstanding citizens who had really good jobs or who started their own business. You have people in the music industry or the entertainment. I mean, look at what's happening to Broadway in New York City. I mean, all of those actors are out of work. Look at if you ask me, the national MLB, the baseball league, and the NFL, who are trying to get these games, are just greedy son of a you-know-whats, because all they care about is money. They don't care about the players. They don't care about the fans. They just care that they get some income. And that's what this society, there was an interview today with one of the players, and first the commissioner of, I think it was the baseball league, said, we're going to get this season off without a hitch. And the player said, don't ask me, because my opinion doesn't matter. So that's where we're at, folks. So some of these people are risking their lives to provide entertainment. At what cost? At what cost? But this is coming to America. There's no movie theaters. There's going to be no sports events with people in it, at least not in the Northeast. There is going to be very little that people that have jobs spend their money on. Because I tell you, a lot of foreclosures are going to happen and a lot of evictions. This moratorium is just about over, folks. So we're going to talk about the GDP too, because this really tells the story about what's happening in America today. GDP fell 9.6% last quarter. If you average that out over a year, it's over 32%. Our GDP hasn't fallen 32% ever in the history of the United States of America. That is how bad the economy is. These jobs are not coming back, folks. GDP. Even people, teachers, firemen, policemen, people in universities, no one is spending because their future is uncertain too. The states have massive, massive debts. Kidding. 44 billion of a deficit in Massachusetts. 50 billion in New York City. Or not New York City. 50 billion in New York State. How in the world are they going to rectify those deficits? They're going to certainly raise property taxes, and that's going to cause another problem, because with unemployment and not getting that $600, how can people afford to pay even their property tax, even if their houses are paid for? The world is spinning out of control, and it's just not the United States. It's a global problem now. This is a problem that is going to take a long, long time, years and years and years to recover from. Years and years and years. And when it does recover, places like Fifth Avenue and Rodeo Drive and the Magnificent Mile or any place else in the world will never be the same again. They'll never be the same again. And what was will no longer be. And the big people and the, some of the larger of the small businesses might be gone, and there might be small, new ones coming up. It's just, that's what's going to happen. So there are crucial lifelines, and that extra $600 expired. And there's no, there doesn't seem to be a replacement for it. And what's going to happen now that that $600, extra unemployment? Someone in Mississippi or in Arkansas or Oklahoma, unemployment is $100 a week. $100 a week. And now the GOP is talking about they want to be the heroes and they want to give $200 a week. So now they're going to make $300 a week. It's $1,200 a month. How can you survive? You got a car payment, you got rent, you got food, you got credit card bills, you got your cell phone, whatever it is. How can you survive, or a family of four, survive on $1,200 a month? And that's only good for 2 months. Listen, we're in a lot of trouble, folks. I would hold on to your britches, and I would, keep an eye to your surroundings and your community, and make sure that, you batten down your own hatches and you try and save yourself. All right. Restaurant closed. They didn't even make it before the pandemic, but it's going to be rented. What's going on there? On this side, office release. All these empty storefronts. Look, more vacant storefront available.